on this subject, we can choose to let our minds explore other possibilities, to use our imaginations. For if we consider that astroscientists agree on one point, that the possibility of life elsewhere is not only quite probable, some feel it is there without a doubt. Let us suppose then that these objects are real space vehicles, extraterrestrial in origin, and not an illusion of the mind.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.
Welcome, everyone, to Somewhere in the Live Stream. I am your host, Ryan Sprague. I am also the host of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. So if you're just joining us for the first time tonight, this is a live stream we try to do every Sunday, where we break down all the latest space news, UFO news, UAP news, weekly weird news, you name it, we try to cover it here on the live stream. So thank you. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Thank you to all our regulars in the chat as well. I do want to give a shout out to all of you in just a moment, but I want to say I'm home. I'm finally back home in Scotland after 43 days of traveling throughout the US and abroad. I cannot tell you how good it is to sleep in my own bed again, to see my own books and my amazing UFO art that Suzanne got me, and just, get back into the swing of things when it comes to life, my personal life, my work life, and my UFO life, which we got a lot to discuss tonight. Get ready, guys. Get ready. It's going to be a crazy, crazy show, and I'm excited for that. And I'm also excited to be back home, like I said, in Scotland. So tonight, I want to know what you guys are drinking in the chat. I am drinking a Scottish beer, Red McGregor from the Orkney Brewery right here in Scotland. So I'm going to be drinking that tonight. So here is to you guys. You get to see the live pour, see how I do. Oh, much better than usual. Just a little bit of a head on there. And there it is. There it is, guys. Cheers to you. Where do we start? Where do you guys want to start? How about with some news about Somewhere in the Skies? I've got some exciting news about Somewhere in the Skies. I have even more exciting news about Somewhere in the Skies coming in the near future. But let's start with this one. The Somewhere in the Skies podcast, which you can listen to every Monday, brand new episodes every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts. I received news yesterday that the podcast has been named number 48 in the top 100 podcasts and number three in UFO podcasts by FeedSpot. This is so awesome. I'm so honored and proud of this. So be sure to go to feedspot.com. It's such a cool sort of like amalgamation of everything, whether it's UFO news, whether it's podcasts, entertainment. They kind of put everything together every week and they send it to your email. So if there's news about UFOs, it all goes into this big chunk and they send it all to you, links to everything. That goes for podcasts as well. If UFOs are in podcasts, they'll send you a list every week of all the shows that have covered UFOs and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm just super stoked and super excited to have been named number 3 in the entire world globally for UFO podcasts over at FeedSpot. And speaking of which, I need your help, guys. We're doing it again. The Apple Podcasts rating and review contest. This went over swimmingly last time. We got a winner. They received their prizes. I'm so happy about that. But we're going to go ahead and do it again. Thank you, Suzanne. So what we're doing, guys, is Apple. Apple is still, if you could believe it, still the biggest platform for podcasts out there today. And I want your ratings and reviews over there. It can help us get featured on like their landing pages and in their top lists and all that good stuff. And it really helps us out. Really helps out independent podcasts, and it would help me out tremendously to get bumped up in those ratings. So if you could, please head on over to Apple Podcasts. There's a direct link on your screen right now that Suzanne put up there for you guys, or just go to your Apple app and rate and review Somewhere in the Skies. It's as simple as that. The only other step is to send me a screenshot of your rating and your review. That's the only way I can really know that you did it. They start showing up on Apple, but it takes a little time. But I want to make sure everyone who does it gets into the contest. So you can send me a screenshot through DMs on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, or easiest way, my direct email is in the show notes. And that'll be in the show notes as well. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's start the contest. Again, you will win 2 prizes from me. One, a personal gift, and one, something from this library back here. I'm going to give you a vintage UFO book. So how's that sound? All you got to do is rate and review the show, guys. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and do that for me. The deadline is 11:59 on February 14th, Valentine's Day. So yeah, show me some love and do that for me right now if you don't mind. Thank you. Please and thank you. And that's it for that. I promise. Super stickers and super chat is open all night, guys. If you do want to help support our endeavors here at Somewhere in the Livestream and Somewhere in the Skies, we raised a really good amount of money for the Pasadena Humane Society. I will be sending all of your donations to them this upcoming week, and I'll be sure to post the receipt and any response that we get from the Pasadena Humane Society all across our social media. I'm sure they're overwhelmed right now with a lot of people helping out, and I wanted to do my small part and help them out too with all the LA wildfires going on over there. Don't forget the animals. And we certainly did not, and neither did you guys. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping out the Pasadena Humane Society. But we're back to helping out Somewhere in the Skies and Somewhere in the live stream. So if you want, the super chat and super stickers will be open all night to answer your questions, highlight your comments, and to just help out the show. So thank you in advance for any super chats or super stickers. PayPal's open, Buy Me a Coffee's open. These are all ways you can help support us financially here and help us offset costs of doing everything, the podcast, the live stream, everything. If you can't help us out monetarily, totally fine, totally understand. It's a hard world out there. Trust me, I know. You can help us out by simply subscribing right here on YouTube or rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever. But Apple, do Apple. And liking this video, liking it, sharing it, commenting below, do all that good stuff. Okay. Ooh, man, I have blabbed enough. Again, this is going to be where YouTube comments say skip to minute 10:42 to hear the actual UFO news. But before we do that, I want to say hello to all of our regulars in the chat, all of our new people. Hello to Jay Rosenberg. Robert is here. Kurt is here. Who else we got? Daylin is here. Hello. Welcome, guys. Donnie Falls is here. Welcome, Robert. If I didn't mention you, Robert. Ryan fighting the cable spaghetti. What is that? I want to know what that is. Hello to Ruth, as always. All work, low pay is here. Richard is here. Welcome. Who am I forgetting? Pine Cedar. Hello. Camila is here. DL Curry. I finally made a live stream from the beginning. That's awesome. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Hello to Andrew. Robert Zimmer is here. Metal Hendrix is here. Alski, hello, welcome. Happy to have you here. Amanda Rose is here. Hello. Just scrolling through here, guys. Hello to Joseph. And Gondolf is here. Gondolf, I love it. I love it. Have you guys watched season 2 of Rings of Power? Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Okay. Look at how ruby red that is. I mean, it's in the name, right? Ruby Ale. Ruby, 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 Ruby! Ooh, sorry if any of you had your volume up loud. Where do we want to start? How about an alien abduction? What better place to start, right? Let's just come out of the gate swinging. Is that a term? I guess it is. I just made it up. Hello to Robert. Hello. Thank you so much, Andrew. Truly appreciate it. Gosbo into house. Hello. Thank you again, Andrew. Appreciate it, my man. We just celebrated the anniversary of a lesser-known alien abduction case, one that we covered right here on the show. I did an entire episode about this case. It's one of my favorite alien abduction cases. I've written articles about it. I've done, I think, a TV segment on it on the Travel Channel at one point, I believe, back in my early days. But this is the Kentucky 3 alien abduction case. So for those of you who may not be familiar with this case, we celebrated the anniversary of it on January 6th. So about a month ago now, but I did want to cover it because it is a very important and well-documented alien abduction case. And I like celebrating anniversaries of any kind. And I think this is a better anniversary to celebrate than what else we know about January 6th in the United States. Enough about that. So on January 6th, 1976, Mona Stafford, Louise Smith, and Elaine Thomas were driving home from a restaurant between Stanford and Lancaster, Kentucky, when something extraordinary happened. So I'm going to go ahead and play this news clip this comes to us from, I want to get this right, LEX 18 News out of Kentucky. And they did a great summary of the case. So I'm going to let them take it from here. And we'll talk just a little bit more about it to celebrate the anniversary of this case. And then we will move on to some really exciting space news. So go ahead and give this a watch, guys. And we'll talk a little bit more on the other side. Enjoy.
Many people said they saw something one winter night in Lincoln County. But Mona Stafford is the only woman left to say she experienced it.
No, it's the most scariest, terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life.
January 6, 1976 in Stanford. Mona Stafford was turning 36. Mona, along with Louise Smith and Elaine Thomas, planned a simple celebration. Labeled by UFO researchers as possibly the most fact-rooted abduction case on record, the incident begins here at what was once Redwood Restaurant.
Everything was going on a different direction from where I started.
Past 11, the birthday party was over. With Louise driving the Chevy Nova, the three women headed down Route 78, a narrow, winding road under a cold, clear sky.
I just seen this light coming down.
An intense red glow heading toward their car, inching closer and closer, until Mona says the object stopped and hovered next to the right side of the car. She says it was a bluish-white dome.
I said, Lou, step on the gas, let's get out of here. And I looked down, I said, "Man, you're going 85 miles an hour." She just picked her feet up, said, "Mona, I'm not touching it, not touching the pedal."
And it's here the women say that their car finally stopped after going nearly 85 miles per hour. But the car didn't stop entirely. In fact, they say it backed up, heading towards a very dark area, an unknown farm to all three of the women. What happened after that forever is written in UFO history.
It pulled us up. It just, that light just pulled us, sucked us up in it.
These drawings describe what each woman says happened next. For Louise, the gray-hooded masked creatures kept her arms from moving. For Elaine, her throat throbbing from something around her neck. For Mona, she lay on a table being observed. All three women say they were burned.
Went to my family doctor. And that's when he said, yes, I've had serious radiation.
Their story was the talk of the town and eventually the talk of UFO researchers. Seeking an explanation, the women decided they'd only share it with a psychologist, someone to help explain this strange event. To help unravel this mystery, the National Enquirer arranged for psychologist Leo Sprinkle to investigate the abduction story. Regressive hypnosis at the Brown Motel in Casey County took the women back to the strange darkness. A Lexington police detective gave Mona, Louise, and Elaine polygraph tests. After the session, everyone involved found the women to be truthful.
It's in my eyes when I close my eyes.
While the hypnosis helped the women, it did not explain why they could not fit the unexplained experience in their natural lives. Over the years, Mona Stafford wanted to talk about what happened, but Elaine and Louise didn't like to. And when they passed away, Mona was left to ponder alone.
Did you see that? That light, it's blinding me. I can't see anything.
35 years later, Danville-based playwright Elizabeth Orndorff is talking about the women's story. High Strangeness is a lighthearted tale fit for an audience.
We're lucky that she shared it with us instead of keeping it to herself.
Mona Stafford, Louise Smith, Elaine Thomas, three ordinary women with an extraordinary experience. An experience decades later, seemingly without an answer.
I know what it is, but I just want to know.
Wow. What a case, right? What a play. I want to see that play. You kidding me? A play about UFOs, about an alien abduction. Here I was thinking I was the only one writing a UFO play. Elizabeth Orndorff is the name of the playwright who wrote a play about this case, and I did speak to her. She's actually interviewed in my episode about this case. So you guys can go ahead and go into the archives. It's episode number 247. That's episode 247 of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast, where I cover this case in depth. We have audio from Mona. We have an interview with the playwright of the play. We have some audio from, I believe it was a police officer who investigated the case eventually. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's an awesome case, and I did want to give it the credit it deserves. So I guess a happy anniversary to the Kentucky 3 case. I did see that, excuse me, beer's getting to me already, guys. Woo. Dalen says, didn't the other two ladies develop cancer? Yeah. Apparently. Lost hair, skin was coming off, all that gross sort of after effects, physiological after effects of close proximity to a UFO. Sad. Dope nose. Had an abduction dream 2 nights ago. Kept my eyes closed as I was being pulled through the wall of an empty industrial building. Ooh. I really hope that was just a dream. That's all I'm going to say. Someone asked if Mona is still alive. That's a great question. I'm not sure. I'd have to check on that. I believe she was at the time that I made the episode when I was talking to the playwright, Elizabeth Orndorff. But I would have to check on that. I'm sure someone could look it up in the chat and find that answer quicker than I can. But yeah. Go check out that episode, guys, in the archives. I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below this video, if you're watching on YouTube, of what you think about the Kentucky 3 case and how we handled it on the show. I thought we did a pretty even-handed analysis and breakdown of it, but I'd like to know what you think. Let's show them once more. There they are. The Kentucky 3. I believe them. Look at them. Look at those faces. How can you not believe those faces? Right? Oh, man. Lost hair. Ooh, this is interesting. Amanda says, lost hair and skin coming off. Same effects Jake Barber claims to experience. I was going to mention that, Amanda. I was, because we're going to be talking a lot of Jake Barber later in the show. But yeah, that is interesting, nonetheless. Same with like the, what's the case out of Texas? With the object, the diamond-shaped object. Why am I blanking right now? Someone, let me know in the chat. Colby was the kid And then the two women. Come on. I know you guys know it. Why can't I remember it? Anyways. All right. Let's move on. Remember these two? You guys remember these two astronauts? Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, we have up on the screen for you the two stranded astronauts. Cash Landrum, thank you guys. Thank you in the chat. Love you. I love you guys for that. Thank you. Remember the stranded astronauts? Well, they're still stranded. They're still up there, floating around in space. No, I'm just kidding. They're on the ISS, and they've been put into, I guess, voluntold to be part of a mission. They're up on the ISS still for insanely longer than they were supposed to be up there. But I have a fun little clip brought to us by Astro Alexandra over on Twitter. If you guys aren't following her, be sure to head on over there. She does some great breakdowns of space news and, kind of debunking some more of the more conspiratorial things that go on with space and stuff like that. I know there was those photos going around in the last couple days of the square indentations found on Mars. They're perfect squares, which means they must be man-made, as some people in the UFO field would have you believe. But no, she was able to break that down and debunk it pretty darn quick, and bring us back to reality when it comes to a lot of this stuff. But let's go ahead and watch this clip of Astro Alexandra explaining what's going on with the stranded astronauts and when we can expect them back on Earth. And I'm sure their families are missing them like crazy. So let's go ahead and give this a watch.
Are those astronauts still stuck in space right now? Are they orbiting above us, stuck in space right now? Back on June 5th, 2024, 2 astronauts went to space and boarded the International Space Station. Now, originally, they planned to spend 10 days in space. At this point, they've been there for over 236 days. So why aren't they home? Basically, when the Boeing Starliner spacecraft that they arrived in was connecting to the International Space Station, there was a helium leak, and 5 of the 27 thrusters were being weird, so they were unable to definitively say that the spacecraft was safe enough to bring the astronauts home. So they chose to bring the spacecraft back without them. So they did all this while continuing forward with a SpaceX mission that had already been planned to go to the ISS. So they decided to just use those 2 astronauts that were already in space and just add them onto that mission. So this SpaceX mission brought 2 more people to space, and they're going to complete that mission as planned. And at the end of that mission, the SpaceX capsule is going to bring all 4 of them home. That will be sometime in March or April, but that capsule is there. They could all come back to Earth if there was an emergency or change of plans right now. Now this sucks, especially because these astronauts miss their families, but they are professional astronauts. I mean, Sunny Williams had actually spent more time in space than this before this mission even started. So they are fine. They're completing their mission. It just sucks that they had to jump onto a longer one. And they are still bringing up stuff to resupply the International Space Station, so they're not going to run out of anything they need. Now, a lot of people thought that they came home months ago, but that was actually a different SpaceX mission while all of this was going on. 4 astronauts who had spent 7 months in space landed, and one of those astronauts had to go to the hospital for an unspecified medical condition and then was released. So they're not stuck, they just got bumped to a longer mission, they have a way home, and they will be home this spring.
There you go, guys. They'll be home this spring. Thank God. Oh man, it is time. It is time. Can you imagine? It would be like you're working your job. You just pulled a 10-hour shift at your job, and then your boss comes up to you and is like, "Yo, Langdon called out sick, so I'm gonna need you to stay another 6 hours." Something like that. Or hey, we're behind on this account. We need you to stay and make sure it gets done. Or we can't get out of the building. We're locked in here, and we don't know when the locksmith is going to show up yet to get us out. So why don't you guys just all stay here and keep doing more work? Let's at least be productive in this time spent together. Oh my God. I feel so bad. I feel so bad for them, but they are professionals, and like Astro Alexander said, like especially Suni, the woman pilot, astronaut here, she has done longer missions than this, so this might be sort of a cosmic cakewalk for her, but I don't know. I just can't imagine. Are they on overtime? Joseph says. I hope they're getting at least time and a half. It's like working a holiday. Oh man. Crazy, crazy. But I'm glad we got this update. I'm glad to know that they will finally be coming home in the spring. And yeah, I bet just like me being away for 42 days or whatnot from my own bed, they have been gone a hell of a lot longer. And I bet they can't wait to get back into their own beds and sleep. Wishing them all the best up there. All of them up there doing incredible work with the ISS. Let's move to some more space news before we get to UFOs, because this is really exciting. And I'm surprised I'm not hearing more people talk about this. This comes to us from CNN. And the headline of this article was, Historic Asteroid Sample Reveals the Building Blocks of Life Are in Fact Extraterrestrial in Origin. What? So researchers have detected organic compounds and minerals necessary for life in unprecedented samples collected from the near-Earth asteroid Bennu. Get used to that name, Bennu, guys. We're not going to be done talking about it with just this story. Bennu's got a lot going on. Bennu is just crazy. Basically, what they're saying is this adds evidence to the idea that asteroids likely delivered the building blocks of life to our planet early in its history. Panspermia, baby! We were seeded here, guys. Or were we? Let's go ahead and watch this clip. This comes to us from, I think NASA, actually. Yeah, this video comes to us from NASA. Where they talk more in depth about this story, give us some context, give us some stuff to think about, and where we go next with this incredible discovery. So give this a watch.
Rock and dust samples collected from a deep space asteroid have been found to contain the building blocks of life. That's according to research that provides some of the best evidence yet that such space rocks may have seeded Earth with the raw ingredients for the emergence of living organisms.
You ready to see the results of the mission?
In 2020, NASA's OSIRIS-REx robotic spacecraft collected samples from asteroid Bennu, a rocky remnant of a larger celestial body that formed roughly 4.5 billion years ago. 3 years later, they were parachuted back to Earth. Here is Bill Nelson, NASA's administrator, during a press conference.
And this mission will help our scientists investigate planet formation for generations to come. And it's going to deepen our understanding of our solar system.
From these samples, two important findings emerged. One analysis, published in the journal Nature Astronomy, found that the samples contained a diverse mixture of organic compounds, and the other, published in the journal Nature, found that the samples contained minerals. Present in the samples were 14 of the 20 known amino acids, along with all 5 nucleobases, the genetic components of DNA and RNA. These organic compounds have all been previously identified in meteorites that landed on Earth, but scientists questioned whether they could have been contaminated by terrestrial sources. In contrast, the Bennu samples were collected directly from an asteroid and were kept pristine, ensuring their authenticity. In the early solar system, planets, including Earth, were pelted by asteroids.
There we go. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. We are not from Earth. We are not. I guess we're Earthlings now, but this is just crazy. I hope they're tardigrades, Dalen says. Yeah, right? Get those little buggers. Those things are incredible. Look them up. Look them up if you can. So a little bit more about this. The combination of materials found in the samples suggests chemical building blocks of life were widespread throughout the solar system, providing strong evidence that the asteroids bombarding early Earth may have delivered water and organic material to its surface. But that theory raises the question of whether this life-delivering bombardment ever successfully occurred on any other planet in the solar system. And there's also the puzzle of why life didn't form inside Bennu itself, given that most of the raw ingredients needed were in fact present. So future missions to other bodies in our solar system will be critical to seek the answers about life, how life began on Earth, and our search for life elsewhere. So yeah, this is exciting news, guys, all because of this asteroid, Bennu. But it doesn't end there, because we might be getting a little closer to Bennu than we actually want to. Not only could this thing be, sort of an example of how we got here, but it's also apparently going to collide on our planet. That's right. Bennu is pissed at us. Or Bennu likes us and just wants to be closer. I don't know. But this is crazy. It could hit Earth as soon as 2032. Whew. You guys remember that movie, Don't Look Up, that came out a couple years ago? That movie was terrifying. This is what that kind of reminded me of. Especially, I watched a news clip about this story that Bennu could possibly hit Earth. And it was on, I want to say, either NBC or Fox, one of the big ones. And the news anchors were, of course, making fun of the entire story, just like they do in that frickin' movie. And the worst part about that is they showed a clip from that movie right before they started making fun of the story. So essentially, they were parodying themselves by showing a clip in the movie where nobody's taking these scientists seriously when they say, this thing, we're not kidding, this thing is going to destroy the Earth when it collides. And, they sort of make light of it in the movie. And then what did these news anchors do? They showed that clip, and then they in turn make fun of the story. They have a scientist on who's kind of leading this story and do the same thing. It boggles my mind how unbelievably self-unaware these news anchors are. Idiots. They're morons. They are complete and utter morons. But enough of that. I'll get off my soapbox. Let's watch this clip from a news anchor from a network called Straight Arrow News, which I'm not too familiar with. But they did a good, nice coverage of this story. Much more serious than NBC or Fox or whoever that was did. So I definitely give them credit for that. Let's learn more about Bennu and its possible collision to Earth in the 2030s. Give this a watch.
Discovery is getting the attention of scientists and astronomers. NASA says a newly discovered asteroid has a very small chance of hitting the Earth in the year 2032. Scientists first spotted it last month by telescope in the country of Chile. They've named it 2024 YR4. The space rock is believed to be anywhere from 130 to 330 feet across. It is currently heading away from Earth. They say it came within 500,000 miles of Earth on Christmas Day, which is about twice the distance of the Moon, which is about 239,000 miles away. The director of NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies, Paul Schotis, says there is a 99% chance it will miss the Earth, but the small 1% chance that it might deserves attention. He says as the asteroid makes a path around the sun, its risk of hitting Earth might actually drop. Adding to the intrigue, experts say the asteroid will gradually fade from view over the next few months, and even the most powerful of telescopes will not be able to pinpoint it. Once out of sight, It will not become visible again until 2028. In the meantime, scientists are now looking over data and surveys of space dating back to 2016 to track the asteroid's history. The European Space Agency reports that the Earth gets hit by an asteroid this size every few thousand years. This particular asteroid is now atop the agency's risk list. NASA's SHOTUS says if the asteroid turns out to be on the large end of its estimated range, it could produce a blast of about 30 miles, including the impact site. The damage could range from massive explosions to fires or perhaps even an earthquake or tsunamis, according to the University of California at Berkeley. If it does come down, they have pegged the date at around December 22nd, 2032, but the exact location is unknown.
All right, guys. Well, okay. You know, even some people in the chat mentioned 99% chance of this missing us. So that's good. That's definitely good, but it's not 100%, which is troubling. Usually, what did he say? An asteroid of this size or this magnitude doesn't hit the Earth for like 1,000 years in between each time. So, I mean, the fact that a lot of us, you know, knock on wood, are going to be here the next time this thing could collide on Earth, an asteroid of this size, like, I'm definitely, I'm definitely like, I think it was Amanda who said, "Hope for the best, plan for the worst," and "Smoke if you got him." Someone else in the chat said, "That's for sure." Yeah, and like they said, like by the time it gets here, it's going to be too late. We won't be able to visibly see it, even with our telescope. So, I do find that weird though, because like we have stuff like the James Webb and I don't know. Adam Wright says if Bennu impact did happen, it would be comparable to the Tunguska event. Interesting, Adam. Thanks for making that comparison. That's a fascinating event in quote unquote UFO lore. I wrote an article about the Tunguska event over at the Debrief years and years ago. But if you type in Debrief Tunguska Ryan Sprague, it should pop up for you. I did my own spin and take on that entire thing. Amanda says there has to be some kind of protocol within the government protecting us from asteroid hits, right? Yes, Amanda. Actually, it was a little over a year ago, I want to say now, when NASA actually had a mission that put like rocket thrusters. They were able to land it on an asteroid and start the thrusters and actually change the trajectory of an asteroid. So yes, they do have missions specifically catered to things like this. So it's good to know if really like cosmically push comes to shove, we can shove this thing and push it out of the way. So DART, thank you, Joseph. Yes, the mission is called DART. I believe it's still ongoing. And hey, I'm all for it. I am all for it. Interesting story. Interesting story. Okay, we talked alien abductions. We talked space news. Let's finally move to UFOs, guys. Let's move to it. But we're not going to stay in the US or even the UK like we usually do. We're going to Turkey. How awesome is that? Or scary. I don't know. Depends. After you hear this story. UFOs have been reported in Turkey, in Istanbul, to be specific. So this story comes to us from Turkey Today, and the headline was UFO alarm in Istanbul airspace. Pilots report UFO traffic. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a read for you guys. Last week, pilots flying in Istanbul airspace reported UFOs on their radar, triggering widespread concern. According to Demiroren news agency, pilots using Sabiha Gökçen Airport received traffic collision avoidance system TCAS warnings, prompting an extensive search in the region. However, authorities have been unable to determine the source of these alerts. Air, sea, and land searches have also yielded no results. Can't see me on screen. Taking a sip of my beer. Be right back. BRB. GTG, BRB, LOL, RPG. That's a role-playing game. I don't play those. Does anyone play? What am I doing? Okay, back to the story. Upon receiving the warnings, pilots immediately informed air traffic controllers, leading to coordinated search efforts in the air, sea, and land. While some pilots speculated that the alerts could be caused by a drone or a ship at sea, search teams found no conclusive evidence of either. Radio transmissions between pilots and air traffic control revealed the urgency of the situation. One pilot reported, quote, "On final approach at 300 feet, we received a traffic alert. It could be a drone or another aircraft for your information," end quote. The control tower's response indicated that similar warnings had been reported earlier. Quote, "Sir, we have been dealing with this for the past 2.5 hours. Several flights before you also received this warning. We have reported it to coastal authorities," end quote. The pilot then added, "We see descending traffic 500 feet below us. It appears as an unidentified traffic on our system. It is now 5 miles ahead of us. We also received this warning on our previous flights," end quote. So the unexplained traffic warnings come amid rising UFO concerns both across Europe and the United States. In December, mysterious lights believed to be linked to a swarm of drones caused public alarm in New Jersey, prompting political debates and federal investigations. Ain't done with that story. Get ready, guys. Similar sightings over New York led to an official inquiry, but no conclusions were reached. Following these events, UFO enthusiasts launched independent investigations across the U.S., and speculation grew after President Donald Trump claimed the government was hiding information on the matter. Crazy. Doesn't end there, guys. Does not end there. Those New Jersey drones. We finally have an explanation. They have been solved. The mystery is over. President Trump came through on his promise, and he solved the New Jersey drone madness, which is crazy. And this comes in the form of a story that involves Jake Barber, of all people. Our UFO whistleblower. The latest one, I should say. Well, not the latest. There's more. We'll get to that later in the show. But this is interesting, weird. I don't know what to really call it. But it's a story. So let's cover it. The headline of this story, brought to us by Futurism, states that UFO whistleblower Jake Barber claims that Trump is being lied to about drones in New Jersey. So I'm going to go ahead and read straight from this article. The views expressed in this article do not necessarily reflect those of me, Suzanne, or the show, but they probably do. Donald Trump's White House insists that the strange drones seen flying over New Jersey were approved by the government, but a UFO whistleblower is calling BS. So days before his inauguration, Donald Trump vowed to uncover the truth about the massive mystery drones that were allegedly seen flying all over New Jersey, including near his golf course that he owns in Bedminster, New Jersey. Just a week into his presidency, Trump seemingly kept good on his promise by having his inept press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, tell the public the following. So I'm going to go ahead and play that clip from the press conference with, quote, inept press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Let's go ahead and give this a watch.
News directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, The drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States.
There you go. Mystery solved. Moving on. End of show. Thanks for joining us, guys. We will see you next week. I'm kidding. Again, this is directly from the article. Beyond the dismal sentence structure, the statement left much to be desired, including who did the research and study, and whether that included similar drones seen flying in New York and elsewhere. Dissatisfied with the White House non-explanation, a user on Twitter, or X, reached out to UFO whistleblower Jake Barber to ask about his thoughts. And Jake Barber did respond. And it was then later discussed in a video interview posted by Jesse Michaels of American Alchemy, I believe it's called. A 3-hour video, mind you. You could check it out. It's on YouTube right now. Interview with Jake Barber, UFO whistleblower. For some weird, odd reason, Logan Paul is in it too. Don't get me started. I'm coming off of the Royal Rumble, the WWE Royal Rumble that happened yesterday, February 1st, and Logan Paul was in the Royal Rumble, and he was one of the final 3 entrants into the Royal Rumble, or I should say, final 3. Basically, it's 30 wrestlers. They come in every 3 minutes, one every 3 minutes. Got to throw the wrestlers over the top rope. If you get it over the top rope, you're eliminated until there's one man left standing. Logan Paul did not win, but he came pretty darn close. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but he's in the Jesse Michael video with Jake Barber, and this clip was interesting. So Jake Barber weighed in on the New Jersey drone thing, not just as a curious, passive observer of it, but he says that he was directly involved with investigating the New Jersey drone flap. So let's go ahead and give this a watch. And let's get Barbary.
Day there, we got there. We were primarily focused to the activity in and around, or above and around, I should say, Picatinny Arsenal, which is a government weapons installation, weapons focused, let's say, or weapons centric installation. First night there on the ground, we get our OPs set up and we're watching the skies. We're organization I work for now, I'm one of the founding members of. It's called Skywatcher, and we specialize in aerial intelligence. This is completely autonomous and an independent venture. It's full of guys like me that have worked in an official capacity for the government. We've brought our tools and talent and experience and are investing them into this private company, and then trying to help the government where we can, and also provide a window for the public into this subject and these technologies. So that being said, we show up in New Jersey, first night, on location, within 30 minutes, over Picatinny Arsenal, whop, 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 whop. All these orange orbs come into existence right over Picatinny Arsenal. Trying to do timestamps on how long they were there was difficult because it appeared about 45 minutes at a time, which is consistent with some traditional large battery-powered drones. But what we can't tell is if that was the same drone or it was disappearing and reappearing. And that was the sensational language that was used more often. What it could mean is that they were turning their lights off and on, and that's why they were disappearing and reappearing. But
were they only at night?
Only at night for us. It was between like 1700 and midnight. So from 5 o'clock until about midnight is when we monitored or captured most of the activity. And so, the problem with that whole thing out there is most of the data being collected and the reports were coming in were from unqualified observers on the ground using visual spectrum. So what I mean by that is humans looking up with their eyes and going, bro, what's that? It's also a very busy airspace around there. So there's airplanes, there's helicopters. I mean, if you really wanted to red team that situation, what I would have done is I would have put a bunch of glow sticks and helium balloons and tied them together and then sent them up in the air and watch people just lose their shit, because you wouldn't have been able to discern. And then you shoot them with, BB guns until they pop and disappear. Like, there's so much room for fuckery in that situation that it's hard to cut through the noise. What we were observing, because we are qualified observers, was not fuckery. There's something very concerning over Picatinny Arsenal. So the first thing we looked at was, okay, these are probably large, like, drones that we know the classes of that are available out there in military inventory and in some civilian inventory, that was turning off its lights en route and then on RTB, and which is illegal. So there's our case for breaking laws right there. If this was in FAA controlled airspace, when a drone leaves the ground, first of all, UAS, an unmanned aerial system, has to have all the FAA approved lighting systems that any other aircraft does, and it has to have them on when it leaves the ground. It's also limited. You have to be a licensed operator, and you're not allowed to fly above 400 feet. These were lights off, over 400 feet, over Picatinny Arsenal, just sitting there, and no one's doing shit about it.
And weren't they sitting there for 5 hours plus in certain cases?
Sometimes longer. And then, but we still don't know if it was just lights going off or they're popping into place. Because while this is going on, in the airspace south of there, we also were running a program that's more, we're running operations, let's say, that's more attuned for the UAP, the unidentifiable phenomenon. And we had UAP class stuff popping up to the south of there, coming in from the outer atmosphere and hovering into place and going back into space.
What do you mean you were running operations more attuned to the UAP?
We were looking for that. We were expecting that, looking for that, and making sure we were paying attention for things that fit the box of possibly being, well, and UAP is a very safe word. UAP is, the words are very, you should say UAP more often, because it means unidentified anomalous phenomenon. I mean, I don't know how that becomes as concrete as if there's aliens and spaceships flying around, because it's the opposite of clear or conclusive.
Yeah.
So UAP should be a safe word. So the biggest problem and the biggest thing that wasn't being addressed that we were trying to make sure people were paying attention to was that, to say there's no public risk, that's a really low-hanging fruit, not the most exciting detail to anchor to in this thing, but it's an anchor point where we could start digging and forcing people to give more concise reports from the DoD side, from the local law enforcement agencies, because nobody was working together there. There were over 59 local law enforcement entities working, not coordinating there. We had FBI, we had DoD, we had private partners on Picatinny, some from legacy programs that are very popular were there with their very fancy tools and toys. Everyone's doing their own thing.
Were you called in specifically because of your UAP retrieval experience?
I wouldn't say my retrieval experience per se, but our team of guys, we're second to none, and I'm not being overly proud in saying that. So we were brought in more so on the behalf of DoD to help take a look at things and really contribute any way we can. But we found there wasn't a lot of coordination.
Not a lot of coordination, yeah. That's not surprising, since the answer we got from the President of the United States is that everything was either commercial aircraft, hobby drones, or FAA-approved drones used for research. Research of what? Research of what? Like, you can't just tell us that these were all government, whatever, FAA drones doing research on various projects and then just leave it at that and expect the public to just be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it's in these moments of non-transparency that people, especially in the UFO field, will fill those gaps of uncertainty with conspiracy theories. That these things are from Zeta Reticuli, that these things are, whatever, biological craft with non-biological drone gray aliens flying them. Like, it's, oh my God. It just, the answer from the White House was just made things worse, in my personal opinion. And to hear now that Jake Barber was like part of a team that went to investigate them is crazy. This dude's like got his hands on everything. The New Jersey drone thing, this, that. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. It's weird. He seems to insert himself in all aspects of the UAP thing. I don't know. I'm making no judgment yet about that. There's just not enough information either way about all of this stuff. But yeah. Oh man. No more drones, but more Jake Barber, because a new documentary series has just dropped on YouTube. No, it's not the Jesse Michaels thing, but it's a brand new series on the Skywatcher YouTube channel, and we're going to break it down. They dropped the first episode of this thing, and I will admit it's pretty interesting. And we're going to talk about that on the other side, but we're going to take a very quick commercial break. Then we're going to watch some clips from this brand new documentary series from Skywatcher, Jake Barber's new company. And we'll see what you guys think. We'll see what you have to say. I can see the chat getting pretty lively already when it comes to Mr. Barber. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we will come back and start to unravel the Jake Barber and Skywatcher story. Sound good, guys? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Greetings, everyone. Ryan Sprague here, host of Somewhere in the Skies. For over 7 years and more than 400 episodes, the Somewhere in the Skies podcast has always been free to listen to, but it's not free to create. So we offer several ways to help support our efforts and get rewards in return. If you listen to the podcast on Apple, you can click the subscribe button at the top of your Somewhere in the Skies feed to become a premium Apple subscriber. Or you can join our Patreon campaign with several tiers available. Both of these options give you the same benefits and rewards: ad-free episodes, early access to the main show, and bonus episodes and content. Help keep the lights on at the Somewhere in the Skies HQ, and help us continue to grow by becoming a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/somewhereskies, or by clicking the subscribe button at the top of your Apple feed. Thank you for your continued support, and keep looking up. Welcome back, everyone, to Somewhere in the Live Stream. If you're just joining us, I am Ryan Sprague, your host of Somewhere in the Live Stream and the Somewhere in the Skies podcast, which you just saw a commercial for. So if you would like to help us out, you can join Patreon, you can join Apple Premium, where you get bonus content, early access to the podcast, and everything in between by helping to support us over there. Or you can help support us right here on YouTube through Super Chats, Super Stickers, Buy Me a Coffee, and PayPal. All of that money goes right back in to all of the stuff we do here and all the unforeseen costs that come with running this stuff. But if you can't do that, simply like the video, subscribe, and leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, particularly Apple Podcasts. So thank you. Thank you to everyone. For those of you who may just be joining us, we covered all the latest space news, and we covered the anniversary of the famous, or I guess lesser known, not famous, lesser known, Kentucky 3 alien abduction case. We just celebrated the anniversary of that. And yeah, we talked a little bit New Jersey drones, President Trump's response to it, non-response, I guess would be a better way of putting it, and Jacob Barber's possible involvement in the investigation of the New Jersey drone invasion. But now it's time for more from Jacob Barber. We're moving away from the egg-shaped UFO, and we're moving into this new endeavor by Jacob Barber with a company that he has created called Skywatcher. So, little slide here for you if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this, you're seeing Jacob Barber and 4 other individuals who are involved in this documentary series. There are other people in it as well. Carl Nell, Gary Nolan. I'm sure more people will be popping up as the series continues. But the first episode did drop. I believe it's called The Journey. I put a link in the show notes for the first episode, so you can go ahead and watch the full episode now. But we are going to watch some clips from this documentary series. Hopefully we won't get a copyright strike, but I thought it was important to give some context about what these guys are doing, who's involved, what they're saying, and what Skywatcher sort of is. Barber got some shit for not only the bold claims that he made in his News Nation interview, but also that like immediately he comes out with this new company. So everyone's like, okay, all right, I see what's going on here. This is all to pitch a new company. And that may be the case. However, it may not be the case. I don't know. You don't know. We're all trying to figure it out. I don't know where I lay with any of this. But I think it's important that we give this a watch because I found this documentary series, episode 1, whatever they want to call it, pretty interesting. So a little background on it. A new documentary series recently dropped on the Skywatcher YouTube channel. It's hosted by Alex Klokas, who is an entrepreneur and investor at SALT, which is a global investment platform connecting institutional asset owners with innovative asset managers and technology entrepreneurs. So basically tech bros. If we want to put it in layman's terms, we're talking tech bros here. Not saying that's a bad thing. All the time. The series will follow the work of Jake Barber's company, Skywatcher, which provides advanced aerial intelligence and protection systems and is founded by former military and intelligence professionals. So featured in this series that we've seen so far are Jordan Jozak, who has an interesting background. He's going to talk about it in one of these clips. He's the gentleman you see right next to Jake Barber there. We also have Dan Fletchenser from the United States Air Force, Fred Baker from the Air Force, and Michael Batista from the U.S. Army. These are just a few of the individuals, like I mentioned, but they are all members of the Skywatcher team. So what we're going to do now, guys, is watch a couple clips and get a understanding of what these guys, who these guys are, what they're doing, and what is going on. What's going on with psionics? Right? We talked about Steven Greer last week. Might talk about him in a little while if we have time, if we get to it. But yeah, basically Alex Klokas, the host of this thing, he interviewed a bunch of these guys and he decided that he wanted to follow them on their expeditions to try to not only investigate UAP, like capture them, data on them, but to literally summon them psychically. And several of these people believe they have the ability to do that. I don't know. Some of you are laughing right now. Some of you are taking this very seriously. And some of you, like myself, are probably on the fence with all of it. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. You know, Suzanne and I talked after the, original News Nation thing came out, and our minds were just a mess. Because all of this was presented to us very quickly and with very little context. But now with this new series, it seems that we're going to get a lot more elaboration on this quote-unquote psionics and Barber's involvement and all of these people's involvement and the people who are backing Barber, not financially, but literally with like credentials and their reputations and all of that. Man. It's a lot to take in. So let's go ahead and watch this first clip, which features Jordan Jozak, who is an individual who claims that he worked for a project that summoned UFOs. So let's go ahead and watch that, and we'll break it down on the other side.
From the actual crash recovery team, we have another team. They're called the psionics team. There seems to be a subset of people that have the unique ability to actually summon these craft, to be able to focus their thoughts and make objects appear in the sky.
Jordan, I really appreciate you joining us here today.
Alex, it's an honor to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
So maybe let's start by sharing a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So most recently, I worked in the space technology space, a little bit of data science, ultimately taking different imagery types and trying to solve solutions for the utility industry.
I'm curious, by chance, do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet?
I'm certain of that.
You're certain? How certain are you?
100%.
I mean, Jordan, that's a pretty bold statement. Where does that certainty come from?
That certainty comes from my firsthand experience in what I term a psionic exploitation program between the years of 2005 and 2010, where I interfaced and worked with non-human intelligence and things like UAP directly.
I mean, Jordan, that is an incredible claim. For the viewer at home, what were you doing in this program on a daily basis?
Yeah, so this would look like things that many people would consider woo-woo-y, right? Like astral projection or meditation. But ultimately, what we were really investigating was how far could we stretch the bounds of human consciousness. Beyond that, how could we get human consciousness to interface directly with things like recovered materials and recovered crafts? What I can tell you from the craft and some of the different projects that we worked on directly is ultimately that they interfaced with us. What I mean by that is my consciousness could project into these craft and recovered materials and then access a suite of commands, essentially capabilities to do various things, including piloting. But ultimately, the story is not about piloting some UAP with your mind. This story is much more about what is consciousness?
Yeah.
Why can we interface with these things?
Do you have material that supports these claims?
I have tons of material, linearly autobiographical records that will support my claims.
All right. Well, let's see it, right? Let's see it. And maybe we will in the future of this series. But right now, I want to introduce you guys to several of the other people involved. Like I mentioned, we have, and Suzanne corrected me on how to say his name right, Dan Flexener. There we go, Dan Flexener. My apologies to Dan. I will get better at this stuff, I promise. Fred Baker, both of which are from the United States Air Force, and then Michael Batista from the U.S. Army. He's the dude you see with longer hair, and it looks like maybe a tattoo or something on the side of his temple. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and watch a clip from this series where these guys basically give a little bit about their background and their involvement with either psionics or crash retrievals or everything in between when it comes to a lot of this, and kind of their approach to how to quote unquote summon these things and whatnot. So yeah, let's give this clip a watch right now.
Seem to be a lot of people that are making incredible claims. And so we took all of these individuals that were making these claims and we said, prove it. You claim that we can summon things in the sky? Prove it to us. We've got the sensors, we've got the team, we've now assembled everyone, and we've asked these folks to show us and actually verify what they're saying. And so here we are. We are here in the California desert, and we've assembled a group of about 15 people. We have a variety of different units within the group. including a sensor and data team, an operations team, a psionics team, and a scientific team led by Dr. Gary Nolan. And we are here to see what happens. We are going to spend 3 days together, leveraging the psionics team, seeing if we can actually make something appear in the sky, seeing if we can track it, seeing if we can actually gather data and verify these supposed claims.
This project is aimed to prove what has not been proved in years past. It's to gather substantial evidence to show the American populace that there are substantial alien life and craft and everything else flying around. My name's Dan Flexenar. I'm Air Force. I've been in special tactics for 20 years now. I've been in charge of rescue and recovery and medical operations for specialized teams throughout my career, and now currently moving into more of a civilian world for this.
Yeah, so I'm 20-year Air Force Special Warfare. I joined in 2000 as a combat controller. Very air-centric, very aware of what's going on up above. Basically a translator for the two between ground forces and guys that are up there. I've seen a lot of things that I just cannot explain.
Here we are, and I'm not really sure what to expect, to be honest. I think when you talk to the teams, they have unwavering conviction that something is going to happen, that we're actually going to see things in the sky. Not only do they think that we're going to see things in the sky, but we're going to be able to track it. We're going to be able to actually gather a variety of different data related to this thing.
My name is Michael Batista. I'm 32 years old, and I'm a former U.S. Army Green Beret, 3rd Group.
And Mike, do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has been visiting this planet?
Yes, I do.
When you make that statement, how confident are you that is true?
I'm extremely confident.
Do you feel like you believe that is true, or do you feel like you know that is true?
I know that it's true.
When did your experience with the phenomena begin?
The first experiences I was having was in my early teens, and it started to accelerate as I grew up. And as my time in the military was ending and I was getting out, it really accelerated at that point.
And when this happens, can you explain how it usually manifests or how you experience it?
It usually manifests as something anomalous in the sky, orbs, crafts, different pyramid-looking objects moving at extreme rates of speed and doing very angular movements.
When you do this, are there other people around? Do they actually see you doing this?
I have multiple witnesses that can testify that that is a fact.
And how many times do you feel like you've been able to summon something in the sky?
Anytime I want.
Anytime he wants. Interesting. How cool would that be? Just like on a dime, like, oh man, I don't want to get off the couch. The remote's all the way over there. Yo, UFO. Go get that for me. I'm kidding, of course, guys. Like, I don't want to make light of all of this, obviously, but this is crazy shit. This is crazy stuff these guys are talking about it, but look at how serious they are. Show us the actual psionic person, Dalen says. I mean, apparently, it's at least one of them, Jordan Jozak, can do it. So can that guy, the guy who just talked. But yeah, again, like, show the beef. I think we as humans have this ability, but have forgotten how to use it, Daniel says. Interesting. It is a lot of people believe that we had the ability to do a lot of this stuff, whether it's telepathy, telekinesis, psychic abilities, stuff like that. We once had these abilities, and they've sort of been shut off from our brains and our consciousness throughout the decades, centuries. Whether it's because of like how we've evolved or devolved, if some might argue, it's definitely possible. Some points I want to bring up before we move to the last clip that I'm going to show, because I think you guys should watch the full thing. to get the full context, but this is interesting. Nancy says, hasn't the idea of mind-to-mind, mind detectability always been present in abduction lore? Everyone is acting like it's so crazy. Very, very good point. I mean, even since the days of Betty and Barney Hill and stuff like that, like the idea of, you know, aliens speaking to us through their minds, before there was even a term for something like telepathy. I saw people in the chat talking about the Telepathy Tapes podcast. I haven't listened to it. I don't know anything really about it. A lot of people said to check it out. I know there's a lot of contention with it too. Its problematic nature and whatnot. I don't know. I just don't have time. I'm gonna be completely honest. Maybe down the road I'll check it out, but for now I'm sticking with just UFOs and wrestling. That's my future, and ghost hunting, obviously. Be going back, I believe, in spring to do that. More news on that. But yeah. I mean, the ideas of stuff like this, like psionics or CE5, as Steven Greer has sort of coined it, have been around for a while. And the idea of telepathy and psychically being able to either commune with or vector in, summon in these UFOs or UAP or, you know, non-human craft. Yeah, it's been around for a long time. And obviously in abduction lore, with how the beings, quote unquote, or intelligences have communicated with us. So, yeah, again, that's if you buy into any of this stuff: abduction, psionics, UFOs, or you don't believe in any of it. Sort of a counterpoint, though. Z-Man says, "That's okay, Suzanne. She's putting stuff up on the screen, and I'm battling with her." I just wanted to bring up this point. Z-Man says, I don't think the mind-to-mind thing is the crazy part. It's the way this stuff is being tossed around that gives me pause. It does seem very just like, yeah, totally. Like, we can all do this. We all have the ability to do it. Like, and we're gonna do it. So watch us. Like, you asked us for proof. You know, as Alex said in this earlier clip, we asked them to prove it. So did they prove it? Could they actually summon UFOs? Well, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see an image on your screen of 3 images with red circles around them. Apparently, there's footage of UFOs, of UAP that were summoned by these guys. Interesting. Let's watch a clip, and I want to know what you guys think. I really want to know what you guys think. It's a very controversial clip. We'll definitely get you guys talking. Give this a watch. Our last clip from Skywatcher for now.
I think that the kind of belief of the team is very important. I think that we've assembled all of the folks that have done this before, and what we're doing does not seem to be new. In fact, it seems as though there's various groups that have been doing this to some degree for quite a while.
Look, there's 2. Look at this. Look right here. Look at this one going down and this one going up. Oh, motherfucker.
So the items that we saw last night could maybe be explained as satellites in some instances or space trash, but really when we started seeing erratic movement, we started seeing some vertical tracks and then tracks going from like left to right in the sky, west to east, and then go again vertical. And then we saw the tracks change course, direction, and speed. So I think that's a piloted aircraft of some sort. I think it's either an intelligent being or it's being told what to do. Didn't flash. It got brighter when it maybe had a reflective surface. I don't know exactly what it was.
During our time together, all 15 of us saw some form of unusual lights in the sky. These lights would randomly appear, stay for some short period, and then disappear. Oftentimes, multiple lights would seem to appear at once. They would frequently move in patterns or angles that, at least to me, seemed unusual for a plane, satellite, meteor, or space debris. But I am no expert. On the last day, however, one thing did happen.
We had a couple of our folks that felt like it was a good time to try to communicate with potentially a craft or an entity that was out there through the methods that they use. You know, I just took a spot up on the roof to be able to observe what's out and around us, and then also have another set of eyes that are up above us. So got on the roof to say, you know, I'll be up here, had my phone, you know, let's be ready to record if something went down, and it did.
The psionic team claimed to be connecting with an object, and our sensor data caught this. While this was happening, Fred went up to see if he could see anything with his naked eye.
So I can hear them talking through certain things, and then he said something like, it's forming. As soon as he said that, I stepped out to look behind me, and that's when I saw whatever it was.
Suddenly, Fred saw a second object appear above our base camp.
It was all gray, matte, like not shiny at all. It was elongated oval, where it looked like there was, you know, the opposite of a seam bursting out in the middle, going all the way around, and so it looked like a rim, because the bottom half of it was extremely dark. It made absolutely no sound, which doesn't make sense because of its proximity. Like, if it was small, it was something maybe the size of this razor, then it was really close. We're talking 500-600 feet. If it was larger, which I kind of believe that's what it was, you're looking at 5 to 8 meters long, then probably around 1,500, 2,000 feet altitude, moving north to south. You know, it looked sturdy, it looked heavy. Wasn't a bird. You know, if it were an aircraft, any kind of conventional thing that we have now, it would have rocked us at how low it was. So 20 years in the Air Force, and never even seen anything close to that. Nothing. There was no observable propulsion. There was no wings. There was no rotor. With that kind of speed, you should hear something, especially if it was that close. So I was shaking. Like, it was super exciting. I mean, I'm not going to start shaking over an F-16 flying overhead or a bird dive bombing. That was incredible. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
All right. What do you guys think of their footage? Mind you, this is our first introduction to this team, and this is our first introduction to their evidence and their findings. Did they convince you? A lot of people in the chat said absolutely not. Why was it shot on a cell phone? Someone said. But some of you might think it was compelling enough to continue following what this team does. I don't know what to think. I think it's worth exploring more. Like all of this. Dalen thinks the footage is dubious at best. Where's Mick West when you need him? People said. I think it's bunk, Pat says. Damn, Dalen's getting hot in the chat. It's okay. Take a nice sip of that chamomile tea. It's devoid of data, non-transparent. They come from untrustworthy intelligence community, Michael says. Welcome, Michael. Good to see you, my friend. This is an interesting comment. I think they really believe it, but no. A lot of people think that about all of these guys. Grush. Barber. Barber said he was told by the UAP task force that what he retrieved on several occasions was non-human intelligence. Apparently, that's what he was told. But maybe he actually believes that. Maybe Grush really believes the 40 witnesses he spoke to. Sir Gosbo, someone wanted to land live on camera. That's a good idea. Like a non-edited democratized sort of live stream of this summoning. That can't be that hard to do. In fact, I'm posing that challenge to Alex Cloaker. I understand that what you're making is a very slick, very polished documentary series. Very well done. I mean, I'll just say that off the bat. Looks great. Great editing. Love the sound. Love the way everything's presented. But it's not about that. It's about the content that is being discussed. Got it. Thank you, Suzanne. So let's see it live. Right? There have been live ghost hunts, right? On like TV. Live possessions, live seances. Let's see a live summoning by this entire... Look, if you have a whole group of guys who can psionically summon UFOs, like, with our powers combined, we are Captain Planet. With our psi powers combined, they should be able to summon something, right? Live. That's what I want to see from this team, Skywatcher. So let's see it, guys. Let's see it. Okay. I was going to do another clip of Jake Barber from a different show about something else, but I'm going to skip that. There is a 3-hour video Jesse Michaels did with, oh God, we have 666 people watching right now. 666, that's terrifying. Somebody leave or somebody come in right now, please. Thank you. We gained a person. Oh, we lost a person. Oh, this is terrifying. You guys are keeping me on the edge of my seat. What was I even saying? Yeah, let's see a live summoning. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to play that clip. Go watch the Jesse Michaels interview if you want. It's 3 hours long. There's one clip in particular I think you guys should focus on. It's Jake Barber talking about how the reason he first got hooked up with like Steven Greer and what he was doing and decided to eventually become a whistleblower himself, if you even consider Jacob Barber a whistleblower. A lot of people still debate that. Is that his original intent of going to the disclosure press conference that Greer did somewhat recently was to gather the whistleblowers that came forward at this event and report them to the FBI, to the CIA, and to arrest them for spilling secrets of possible classified information. That's interesting. Like, Barber went in, apparently, again, this is all according to Barber, nothing, zero to back it up. That he was sent there to like stop these whistleblowers from talking, basically, and then eventually became a whistleblower himself. He had a turn of the screw, as they say, and came out on the other side wanting the information to get out, especially after what he learned from some of these quote-unquote whistleblowers, Michael Herrera specifically, and what he was involved with. And, you know, Barber even says at one point that he confirmed what Herrera said was actually true with several people. I'd like to see the proof of that too. But if that is true, oh man, can of worms opened. What do you guys think? What do you think of all of this? Skywatcher, do you want to keep watching the series? Do you hope to see more evidence? Obviously, we all want to see more evidence. My question on YouTube was, do you believe Jake Barber? And I know that's a sweeping question. Like, it's a very general, broad question. There may be some aspects of this you do believe, some you don't. Some of you might think he's been misinformed on things. Some of you might think he's lying. Some of you might think it's all true. But I asked the question, do you believe Jake Barber? I'm going to go ahead and go to the chat and see what you guys said. So, out of 137 votes, our choices were, do you trust Jake Barber? Was my question. I'm sorry, not believe. Do you trust Jake Barber? delineation there. Do you trust Jake Barber? The choices were yes, no, don't know yet, and who? So 36% of you say you trust him. 18% of you said no, you do not trust him. 39% of you said don't know yet, and 7% of you said who? Well, you definitely know who Jake Barber is after watching this tonight. Can tell you that much. Interesting results. Kind of what I expected. We don't know yet, and that's what the majority of you said. So that makes sense. 36% of you do trust him. So that's interesting too. I don't know, guys. I honestly don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You can watch the full episode of Skywatcher, the first episode, right now on YouTube. Link is in the show notes below. Thank you to them for these clips tonight, and hopefully they will not copyright strike us. Some fair use, blah, blah, blah. Disclaimer right here. Please and thank you. What do they always say? Do it now, apologize later, or whatever. Don't ask permission, apologize later. There we go. James Fox taught me that. I'll watch from the fence until they show us some proof, Susan says. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, Rick Lupe. I'd hate to end up with egg on my face. Good one. Keep the egg puns going. I'm loving them. I am loving them. Beth says, I trust Jake to a certain point. Now I want the physical proof. Disclosure of an alien craft. Z-Man, no receipts yet. Amanda, it's difficult to trust anyone, but at the same time, we've all been asking for whistleblowers to come forward. When they do, no one believes them. Not saying we should, but something to consider. Yeah, it's always that double-edged sword, Amanda. I agree. We're finally getting what we've wanted. But are the people who we wanted the real deal? I don't know. I just don't know. Space chickens. Love it. All work OPay. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything. Oh, Metal Hendrix. Would be cool if we scheduled a synchronized group psionic session. Why not? Hey, I'm down. Name the time and the place and we'll live stream it. That would be interesting. Psionics party. Woo woo. Love it. All right, guys. Well, we covered a lot tonight. Exciting space news. Compelling stuff going on over in Turkey with UFOs. Insane, ridiculous explanation of the New Jersey drones by President Donald Trump. And now psionics and summoning UFOs. Welcome to the live stream. The Breakfast Club of Ufology. But let's talk about what's coming to you guys in just a couple hours over on the main feed of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. It is your favorite series that we run of the show, and that is Witness Accounts Volume 35. We have a handful of listener submitted UFO stories for you guys. These were a doozy, some of them. Some were very emotional. One took place directly after a funeral service where someone saw a UFO right after going to the service of someone they knew who had passed away. So that was very interesting. And the image you're seeing here on your screen, if you're watching this, is of a UFO with lightning. Yeah. One of our listeners submitted a really interesting story about a UFO that emerged from a lightning storm. Interesting, to say the least. Those two stories and many more will be coming to you in just a couple hours when this drops on the main feed of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. So be on the lookout for that. And in a little more exciting news, I may have mentioned this already, but I'm going to be speaking at my first ever cryptid conference right here in the UK. This is taking place May 30th through June 1st. April, May, June. Yeah, May 30th through June 1st in the UK. It is the Cryptid Conference UK, and I will be a guest speaker where I will be talking about the historical documentation of reports of Bigfoot and UFOs, the connection between the two, if there are any. Our government seems to think so. I have documents to prove it, and I will be presenting those during my talk with the connection between UFOs and Bigfoot at CryptidCon UK, coming to you May 30th to June 1st. For more information and to get your tickets, you can go to, I believe it's cryptidconuk.org. I will put a link in the show notes if I am incorrect about that link, but just look up Cryptid Conference UK and it should pop up for you guys. And yeah, I'm super excited about that. It'll be my first ever sort of Bigfoot heavy conference. So I was super honored to be asked to speak at this by Daniel, the conference organizer. This guy's like 15 years old, and he's running a conference for like the third year here in the UK. It's awesome. I give him all the credit in the world for having the moxie, I guess, the courage to put on a conference at his age. It's just incredible. I know he's filming a brand new television show here in the UK about Bigfoot as well, so a huge congrats to him. And again, I'm super honored to be having been invited to speak. Many of you may know I was on the television series Expedition Bigfoot, talking about these connections between Bigfoot and UFOs. So that was how Daniel actually found me. He saw me on the show, reached out to me, and said, "Hey, I think there's something to this." And the worlds of UFO researchers and Bigfoot researchers rarely ever collide. So let's change that. So again, I'm super excited. I can't wait. And yeah, I'm really, really excited. And I hope you'll join us May 30th through June 1st for that. I'll have more info for you in the future, or visit the website that Suzanne put in the chat for you guys, cryptidconuk.org, to check that out. So this isn't a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's the reality. Guys, I don't know if we will be doing the live stream every week. I just can't promise that, I guess, is my way to say it. I'm right now working heavily on my Shag Harbor UFO documentary. So look, other things sometimes take precedence. And Suzanne and I put a lot of work into these live streams every week. Again, she sends me all of the news and headlines in a perfectly worded breakdown every week, which I'm so thankful for. And then I go and find my own stuff. We mix it together, blend it, and that's what you see on these live streams. But I'm doing a lot right now. I'm working on my third book. I'm halfway through development of a new play that I'm working with a university actually in the US about UFOs. I'm going to be going to London to record new episodes of Ancient Aliens very soon. I'm going to Nova Scotia in April to film my brand new television series, Haunted Heart and Soul. And also making a documentary on Shag Harbor. So things are just crazy. All this to say, what I just want to say is, like, we'll play it by ear. I know a lot of you expect this every week. It's what you do now with your Sundays, and I cannot be more thankful for that and appreciative of you giving me your time to join us. But I'm just going to say, like, keep an eye on social media. I will post as soon as I find out if I'll be able to do a live stream that week. But yeah, just kind of go in with no to zero expectations. How does that sound? Then you'll be pleasantly surprised when there is a live stream. That's not to say I don't enjoy doing this. I love it. I love it. In fact, I can tell you right now, we're probably going to do one next week because things are getting interesting. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to, like, throw that out there that, like, it's good to be back home in Scotland and get back into the routine. And I promise you, I'll be bringing you all the latest every week on the podcast. That's for damn sure. But when it comes to the live streams, I just don't know. But like I said, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So yeah, That's just my long-winded way of saying, yeah, be on the lookout, hopefully next week, for the live stream. And I know how unbelievably fortunate I am to have all these amazing opportunities and do what I do. But it's a lot, emotionally, mentally, physically, existentially, everything in between. Do your thing, man. Nancy says, understand. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I truly, truly do. But yeah, I love doing this. And thank you. Thank you for joining me once again this week to break down all the latest UFO news and everything in between. Rate, review on Apple Podcasts. You'll be entered into our contest. Send me a screenshot of your rating and review over on Apple, and you will have the possibility of winning some prizes from me. Deadline for those reviews is February 14th. Subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching this. Like, comment, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Again, my special thanks to Suzanne for holding it down, as always, in the chat. And thank you to all of you. Thank you so much to Andrew for the super sticker. Truly do appreciate that. And that's going to do it, guys. So again, from me to you, I will see you on the latest episode of the podcast dropping at midnight UK time, just a couple hours. And hopefully I'll see you next week right here. So I'll leave you with our mantra. As always, keep your feet on the ground, but never stop searching somewhere in the skies. Take care and keep looking up.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.